Hello, everyone. This is a special episode of Film Seizure. I'm Jason Oliver, and I'm joined by my co-host, Jeff Arbuckle. And today we are interviewing the indie art film extravaganza film director and writer, Joe Badon. Joe, how are you?
Doing good. How are you guys doing?
Doing well. Doing well. We're super excited to talk to you. Thank you for coming on the podcast.
Yeah. Thank you. Thank you all for having me. I appreciate it.
Sure thing. So Joe, you have a kind of a big new project you're working on, and you're about to launch a new Kickstarter.
Right.
The project is called The Wheel of Heaven.
Right.
Give us a little bit of the quick summary of what the new film is, and what the promotional sort of kickoff for the Kickstarter is.
Yeah. So it's part of a two short films. This is Wheel of Heaven is the second part, and we've already filmed the first part, which is Blood of the Dinosaurs, a prologue to the Wheel of Heaven, and we're editing that now. And so the two parts just come together to tell a story. You really don't need the Blood of the Dinosaurs to understand the Wheel of Heaven, but it basically tells the story of this young woman named Purity, and she's kind of like living a choose your own adventure life, like where she has these choices to make. You know, she make one or the other. I mean, we all do basically, but it's in that fashion of a choose your own adventure book. And she ends up running into this party with hosted by this very mysterious man, and it's kind of like Rocky Horror Picture Show sort of a deal. I've been kind of saying it's Rocky Horror Picture Show meets Hour of the Wolf, which is that's pretty true. It's kind of like that, but imagine that as a choose your own adventure.
I love that. That's kind of the perfect way, I think, to summarize the films that you make, is sort of taking that sort of like musical schlock comedy in Rocky Horror, right, and meshing that with Bergman's Hour of the Wolf, black and white, high contrast, very art house, very dense, right? Yeah. And then coming up with something that is approachable, but still has that sensibility of a serious film in some ways, right?
Yeah, for sure.
Is that a conscious choice? Do you sort of set out to sort of approach your creative art like that? Or is it just kind of what comes naturally to you? You like what you like, and you make what you make?
I think it's like both. You know what I'm saying? It's like I'm definitely trying to always steer myself back into a certain style. But that style is like inherent inside of me. It's not like I'm having to force it. But I just like don't want to be, I want to do something that I want to do. So, or like that I would like to watch. Mm-hmm. I am not doing it for an audience at all, except for just myself. Which I think I'm not saying I'm good of a director at all, but I think the best directors do that. Mm-hmm. I think they are really just making something that they are going to be proud of, that they are going to want to sit down and watch, no matter if everyone else hates it. Mm-hmm. And so that's, with God Inside My Ear, I don't know if y'all have seen that one. Yep. That one was I'd never made anything before, and so I was trying to make something that people would like. And if you look at the IMDb, that is not the case. It's under 5. It's like 4. People didn't like it, no matter how. I was trying to make something people would like. So after God Inside My Ear, I realized, what am I doing? I just should be making something I want to make, and that's it. And I think I'll catch a better audience, bigger audience that way. So
that's interesting because, Sister Tempest, we both liked quite a bit, and it seems that it's being pretty well received on the genre film festival circuit. It's won a bunch of awards, and it was a more honest film, as you say. You kind of came at that project by making something you wanted to see. So, what do you think about that? Do you think that there's something to that, like that honesty in your art is maybe coming through?
I hope so. I know that after watching the rough cut of Sister Tempest, it was very cathartic. Like I watched it and just saw how much of my soul I had kind of vomited into this project. And so I didn't have that feeling with God Inside My Ear. So I feel like, me personally, I feel like I achieved that personal level of artistry. I don't know if it comes through because I will always be shaded and like with my opinion until like maybe 20 years down the road when I haven't watched it in like a decade and I'll sit down and see it with better eyes. So I hope that it comes out of a more personal piece. But I see that, being in the indie filmmaker world, the majority of those filmmakers, they're fine. Like I have no problem with them, but everybody seems to be trying to make things that are sellable or that will get the attention of Hollywood. Like they're constantly trying to just be like, look at me, I need money. Like, and and it's creating very desperate films. And I don't want to feel desperate. I don't want my films to feel desperate. I want them to feel like a big middle finger to everybody and be like, I don't care if you like it or not, because that's the kind of art and music and movies that I love, are those pieces of art that are real big middle fingers to society or and really to art itself. Because it's weird. Like there feels like there's this phenomena that I didn't grow up with, but this phenomena of this new indie artist that really, that word indie just means trying to be like Hollywood, but just doesn't have the money. And when I was growing up, indie was Eraserhead. Indie was John Waters, and I just don't see that as much anymore. And that's what I want to come back,
It's an interesting position to be in because you want to be uncompromising in your art, but to make a film, I've never made a film, but I know that it's a huge endeavor and there's a lot of people involved, and there are actors and there are, technical people involved, and a lot of people, they can't necessarily just do this for free. So there is a monetary component to it where they need to be paid as artists, right? And you should be paid to get access to your art, right? At least that's one school of thought. I'm curious about the business of this though, because you're launching a Kickstarter. That's why we're talking to you. You're asking fans and people who like what you do to help you make something else that they can see, and there's that kind of component to fandom, but then there's also sort of like, how do you monetarily make it work? Because it's a lot of your time, right? And obviously the dream is to make an uncompromising piece of art that is also financially lucrative, right?
Sure. I don't know that answer.
Yeah.
I don't know. Yeah. It's like this weird puzzle box that I'm still trying to figure out. That's why I'm doing Kickstarters, So I have no idea. And it seems like a lot of people that are successful in this industry, it's nepotism, or it's people who they know, or people who they're married to, or they're sleeping with the right people. And it's just I'm none of those things.
Yeah.
So I don't know. One of my big heroes is this director, Mickey Reese. Have you heard of this guy?
Yeah, Climate of the Hunter, right?
Yes. And he's made like almost 30 films in the last like 14 years, most of them feature films. Most of them he'll never show anyone, like most of his early stuff. But he just has been making one film after the other, not most of them totally micro budget or no budget. And he's finally getting recognition. Mm-hmm. So I figure if I just keep doing it, eventually something will happen.
Yeah. Yeah. I mean, you're doing something right. I mean, I feel like the attention you're getting in the genre film festival circuit is certainly building some kind of momentum, right? It would be great to see, the Kickstarter launch with just, a huge bang, which I don't see why it wouldn't. I mean, you were able to fund both of your last two films on Kickstarter, right?
So God Inside My Ear, I actually just took all my savings.
Okay.
And and made the film. And then in Sister Tempest, we raised 25 grand, and then we raised like another like 2,500 on Indiegogo for post-production stuff.
Okay.
So yeah, we raised almost 30 grand, which was great. And I feel like we picked up a lot of new fans and new support from Sister Tempest till now. So yeah, I think we're asking 20 grand for this short film. We're asking more so we can actually, like the last two films, we pretty much paid no one. And it's like, we can't keep doing that, you know?
Yeah.
So
yeah,
we're trying to help pay a little bit and
right.
have money for the films, you know?
Absolutely. So let's talk a little bit about the new film. It's a short film, right? It's not a feature this time around. Was this something that you had kind of percolating before Sister Tempest, or was it something that kind of bubbled up in your brain recently?
I had been writing this story called Follicle for the last couple of years, and it's a TV series that I want to do eventually, about this boy who's got the hair, like that hairy Wolfman disease where, you know, hair grows everywhere. I
think Jeff might have that, actually.
I was waiting for that.
The hairy man. We call them bears, but anyway, so it kind of follows this kid's story, but it's what I tell people. It's kind of like Wolfman meets 2001. It's like this giant story. And while I was writing it, I've been writing almost like all these threads of other stories inside of that story. And this Wheel of Heaven was one of those threads of a story.
Okay.
And once I finished that little thread, I was like, well, I could just cut this out and make this into a short film. So that's kind of what I did.
Cool.
So, yeah.
Let's talk a little bit about the choose your own adventure dynamic.
Yeah.
To this. So I think probably, unfortunately, most people, when they think of like a choose your own adventure movie now, might think of that Black Mirror episode. Did you see that?
Yeah, Balderdash, Masher Rash, or whatever.
Yeah, whatever the hell. Yeah, something like that. Yeah, Bandersnatch or something. Yeah.
I watched 20 minutes of it, and I was just talking to some friends of mine yesterday about Bandersnatch.
Mm-hmm.
And we were saying how, like, it's a great idea, but it was done with like no imagination.
Yeah.
You know? So it's just weird, you know? So no, but this isn't the same. This isn't like that. Hold on. Taking a drink. This isn't
Hydrate.
Like, it's my Perrier.
So fancy, Joe.
So fancy. Yes. Plastic bottle. This is like, I'm really obsessed with multi-universes, and not in the shitty way that Marvel's done it, but but it basically comes from me growing up on comic books, because multi-universe was like always talked about in everything. And I was a big fan of the original DC Crisis was amazing. This
is hilarious. I'm going to interrupt you right there, because Jeff loves Crisis on Infinite Earth, and we have a running joke on the podcast where he can pretty much tie like almost everything back to Crisis, and he does it because he knows it drives me crazy, because I don't understand it at all. It's just like, what? And so so Jeff's loving this right now.
Well, here's my big issue, is that Crisis is kind of like Star Wars in the way that it fucked up comic books. Like, Star Wars is amazing, but it fucked up Hollywood. Now they have to make these giant big budget bullshit. And it was the same with comics. So, like, Crisis was such a big deal that they were like, let's keep doing this. Let's kill everyone and resurrect them and kill everybody. It's just like asinine. All those motherfuckers should have stayed dead after. That's all I'm saying. Like, that's the way life is. I don't want to be reading a soap opera about fucking Batman for the last 60 years. He's old and dead at this point. Let's move on. Anyway, sorry, that's my rant on comic books.
But still, there's something about that multiverse that you latched onto.
I love the string theory and all that stuff. And so with Wheel of Heaven, it's got that. Sister Tempest kind of touches on that a little bit. It's kind of like these multi-universes. With Wheel of Heaven, it's got the character that's actually reading the book, and so you follow her story, and then you actually are her reading the book, so you see her as another character reading in the story, actually doing the things. And then there's another version of her that is like a captain of a spaceship, and then there's another version of her that's something else, like an art teacher or like an art sculptor, not teacher. So there's like a bunch of different versions of her, and then there's a bunch of different versions of like the bad guy in the film. And so we see these two characters like interact in all the different multi-universes, essentially.
That seems pretty complex. How long do you think the short will be?
20 minutes to half an hour,
wow.
Depending on it. If we just get 20 grand, it'll be 20 minutes. But if we can get more, we'll go further. And if we get like fucking 100,000 or something, we'll just make a feature.
Okay.
You know?
So you have kind of a feature film idea, but
the feature film idea will add another universe of the actual actress being the actress, getting ready for the role and studying the role and going through the role. So that'll be.
Oh man, everybody, please let's raise 100,000. I want to see that.
Yes, I had recently watched. I don't know if you watched Jane B for Agnes V. It's like an Agnes Varda movie that just finally came out. It was from the 80s, but it's like a documentary on Jane Birkin. But during this documentary, there's a bunch of all these little short films that they shot and dropped it in, and it becomes this maze of, is this the actress or is this like a character? And it's just wild. And so there's some big inspiration from that to do this, like all these layers like that.
I'm wondering if that's a little bit of what you're talking about on the Hour of the Wolf inspiration, because there's definitely like that breaking of the fourth wall in the beginning of that movie. So full disclosure, I watched Hour of the Wolf for the first time last night to prepare for this interview.
Sweet.
It had been on my list for a while. In fact, my wife and I have been doing kind of this quarantine thing where we each pick a handful of films from different countries that we haven't seen before, and we watch them, right? And that was my pick for Sweden. So we watched it last night, and the beginning of that movie, it begins with what seems like the scene being set, right?
That's fantastic. It's
and you can hear Bergman in the background, and he's giving direction, but you only see Liv Ullmann on screen, and then she begins talking to camera. So is that sort of what, part of maybe that thread?
There's that, and also there's like this idea that they're kind of stuck with this party, like that they have to constantly be going through, and it's like manipulating them and trying to like kind of suck their souls. So there's that idea. So,
I got a little bit of Carnival of Souls vibe in Hour of the Wolf too. Yeah,
absolutely. Yeah, there's some fucking brilliant scenes in that movie. The movie it scared the shit out of me, honestly, because I'm being an artist and being like at that like midlife crisis age. That's basically what that movie is. He's he's basically stung by the fever of lost youth, and it's just an incredible film. But
I wondered, that was on my list of questions to ask, is why you found that film so scary, and I had a suspicion that might be why. Yeah,
that's why. It was like, it wouldn't be
it stung me too.
Wouldn't be scary at all years ago, but just when when you're married and you love someone and you're like dealing with all these just fucking crazy emotions, and you're also like a possibly mentally ill artist, it gets weird.
yeah. So there's a musical component, I imagine, to Wheel of Heaven. Is there, or am I just inferring because of the Rocky Horror Picture Show?
Oh, there is a musical component in that sense, like there would be in like Beyond the Valley of the Dolls. I don't know if you've ever seen that. Like it's just kind of there's music in there, but
Okay.
I don't think we'll actually have we do have one dance number, but it is a scary moment in the film. So the reason I said Rocky Horror meets Hour of the Wolf is because both those storylines kind of are similar to Wheel of Heaven. And one is very kitschy, like 70s, and one is very art house 60s.
Yeah.
And so we're actually not referencing those movies as much as we are using that as just kind of like the elevator pitch.
Sure.
So like Beyond the Valley of Dolls is a big influence for this. And like original series Star Trek and original series Twilight Zone's a big influence. So yeah, we're trying, like with my other films, trying to do this genre mashing and genre hopping sort of thing.
Sure.
So that's why the multi-level universe kind of thing works really well for that, you know?
Yeah, I will admit that I instantaneously saw the Enterprise cruising over the.
Yeah.
It's like, oh, well, I'm on board.
The original series is still my favorite. It's
just same here. Yeah.
And like a big reason for that is the hamminess that Star Trek has completely lost. Like the hamminess and the kitschiness is what made so much cinema great. And now like cars are all beige and everyone wears the worst like clothing is terrible. Like if you're going to make a film, don't just be like, we got a house and we have people, they can dress themselves. No, they're going to look like they dressed at Walmart and it's going to look terrible. Please.
Yeah. I think you kind of bring up a good point there, because it's like, you want the movie to represent something that is, well, let me put it this way. I guess there is this kind of attractiveness to the idea that a movie is total escapism. You're not in the real world. You're not just seeing people who dress themselves or, they have a gray car.
Exactly.
Yeah. So yeah, the idea of you are kind of, I mean, think of something like Logan's Run is full of that, but yet still telling a serious story.
Yeah. Yes. Yeah. Totally. I really don't like filmmakers or movies that are trying to like document reality essentially. Like that's the reason I put on a movie, is because I want to escape from that shit. Like reality sucks. I don't want to live in it, So anyway.
What you said, sort of this homogenization, right, of Hollywood film, and even honestly a lot of independent film. I put independent in air quotes anymore because independent films are being financed for millions of dollars these days, right? But I would be remiss if I didn't bring up David Lynch in an interview with Joe Badon. So he's someone else who very much rallies against the homogenization of culture, of clothing, of costumes, of machines, right? Yeah. I mean, he's spoken very very passionately about how his films are a rejection of that homogenization. And I know you're a big David Lynch fan, so I want to I just want to hear from you a little bit, like what his work, how it's informed your creative process.
It's that stupid thing he says where he talks about you just got to let yourself dream. It's the dumbest shit in the world, but like I've actually listened to that idea and it like works really well. Like taking the time to meditate on a scene or meditate on an idea and like go down the rabbit hole and like dive deep and see what kind of big fish you can find.
Yep.
That really works. So like he's been a huge inspiration in like just his teachings about like that sort of stupid shit. And also like doing like, I've done some transcendental meditation and it's some good shit, man. Like I'm not a cult leader like that dude, as far as like that's ridiculous. Like like not everyone in the world needs that, you know, but
Right.
that sort of shit, just this like emptying your brain and seeing what kind of ideas come out of that, or, you know, like, you know, turning on the bathtub and getting in the tub and letting that sound, that white noise, just let you get in the zone and meditate. And so, yeah, he's that kind of idea has really helped me, and it's really from him.
Yeah, I agree. It's sort of that, just giving yourself some peace, right? And allowing yourself time to just disconnect from this kinetic stream of information that we're constantly bombarded with. I saw David Lynch at the Maharishi Mahesh University of Management. He was speaking at a student weekend, prospective student weekend is what it was, and a buddy of mine went, because hell, you know, it's only about a 6-hour drive to Fairfield, Iowa. We get to meet David Lynch. We're going. And we laughed a lot about the transcendental meditation and a lot of the connecting it to this quantum level of stopping war and all of this stuff, right? And these really big, you know, kind of lofty cultish sort of ideas. But when you really boil it down to like what you're saying, this sort of just giving yourself time to think, to separate yourself from the craziness of the world and just you know, meditate. It's helped me as well. I think back on kind of how sort of silly I thought all of that was then, and now, and you know, 10 years later, whatever it is, I use a lot of those meditation techniques to this day. Yeah,
absolutely. Well, you know, I was a pastor for about 12 years at a non-denominational holy roller, charismatic church, speaking in tongues, the whole deal. And now, like, I don't want anything to do with anything that smells like a cult.
Right.
Anything that says they have the ultimate answer, or the divine truth. No one does. It's all bullshit. So anyway, it's funny because I still call myself a Christian. I still believe in a God, but it's nothing like any conservative Christian out there believes.
Yeah.
But anyway.
No, that's interesting. I wonder, you know, how does that experience sort of inform your creative output as well? I mean, how much of that is in there? It's got to be a lot, right?
Not so much. I'm still dealing with like, just like all the religious shame, like growing up Catholic and then again going into conservative Christian, you know, shit, and still dealing with like wrestling with my idea of who God is. And that's my whole reason for doing art is all that. It's all that shit. You know? So. Yeah.
Raised Catholic here as well. I totally feel you. I get that for sure. It definitely, you know, it's something that is ingrained in you so deeply. From birth. And
it is.
And it causes rifts with family when you reject even minor tenets, right? So I understand, and it's awesome that you can, you know, channel that into something so amazing as what you make. I mean, because it's so vibrant, and while it may be dark at times, it's also very exuberant and funny, and it keeps you guessing, right? Like Jeff and I thought I had the ending of the Sister Tempest nailed. I mean, I've seen thousands of movies, and I didn't. You got me. So it's a pretty cool experience when a filmmaker can do that.
Well, I love Mystery Science Theater, and Joel Hodgson was on an episode of Space Ghost Coast to Coast, and Joel said this thing that I'll always remember. He said, like, you watching those new Batman movies, it's like they're just making all this shit up. And it's just the stupidest idea. Like, they're just making stuff up. Of course they're just making stuff up. That's what I feel like. I feel like I'm just pulling shit out of my ass, and then just that's it. That's all I'm doing. I'm not like, there's no formula or nothing. I'm just writing as fast as I can, whatever my brain decides to vomit on the page, and then I do a few different drafts of it. I'm not a writer. I'm not a director. I'm just doing this shit because I feel like I should. I don't know what I'm doing.
Well, it's funny that you mentioned both Joel and Space Ghost, because one, I do catch a little bit of the Joel personality, particularly in the Kickstarter video.
Yeah.
And then also, I think I likened Sister Tempest to something that I felt at home with, like Adult Swim or something, where it's shifting and it's zigging and zagging, and it's it's all connected, but you don't know what the next minute is going to be, or what the next thing you're going to laugh at or experience is going to be.
Adult Swim is like one of my favorite channels ever, and it's probably literally half of the shit ideas that I have are just ideas I'm taking from Adult Swim things. Yeah,
I operate in the same kind of headspace. It's like, I have no rhyme or reason why. It's just, I get you 100%. It's like whatever comes out of my brain, I'll figure out a way to tie it to the next thing. And it's goofy, it's weird, but I also kind of feel like, it's like, this is the right time in the history of the world to be like this, to have that kind of, that kind of sense of humor and that kind of maybe tenuous grasp on reality. I don't know, but
oh yeah. There's, I can't remember. I think it was the author of Godfather. I can't remember his name.
Mario Puzo.
Yeah, there was some quote that I heard. He said, "If I knew that Godfather was going to be such a big deal, I would have spent more time writing it." He's like, I wrote it really fast. I'm not a huge fan of George Lucas. Although he informed most of our lives, growing up. I mean, Star Wars is amazing. But I was watching an interview with him on Charlie Rose, and Charlie Rose was like, what's your creative process? And he said, I just write as fast as I can. And then I go back and make changes. And that stuck with me. That was 20 years ago. That totally stuck with me. And if you can at least finish something, then go back and tighten it up. And so that's what I try to do. I try to do that with everything I do, with art and music and any kind of thing. I just go as fast as I can and finish it. At least I got it finished, because I know the next thing I do will be better. Because I can learn from that. And then it makes you just be able to create faster. And that's what you want to be. You want to be good and fast. And because some people, I'm sure you all dealt with this. You work with somebody who's such a perfectionist that they're just never getting anything done. And you're just like, well, that half of a drawing looks great, but it'll never be
right.
Finished.
Well, I think there's also something to say though about being a perfectionist on the opposite end too, finishing something quickly and then going back and nitpicking it to get it right.
Yes, totally. That's hard to do. Yeah. That's hard to do if you are a perfectionist too, because you kind of want to stop. And I mean, I'll catch myself going so slow, and I'll be like, nope, you can go back to this later. But one thing that's good, I've surrounded myself with people that are perfectionists. And so, although I'm driving the bus, so I'm like, oh, we're not stopping. So I'm making everybody have to kind of run with me. Mm-hmm. But those people are the people that make what I'm doing look good. Because if I shot the shit myself and edited it myself and put it together all myself, it would look like garbage. It still might be fun, but it would be like John Waters level production. His early stuff is trash, and it's really fun, but it does not look good.
That is true.
But well, there's only so many ways that you can film somebody eating a turd. I mean, come on.
That's very true. Yeah. Or it was all that guerrilla filmmaking, running into a church and filming scenes as fast as they can. But anyway.
But it is an interesting thing because, the perfectionists can generally afford to be perfectionists, at least the ones that we know of, right?
Yeah.
The ones we don't know of, and I know a few personally who I personally think are geniuses, artistic geniuses, who will probably never produce anything of note that more than a handful of people will see, right?
Yeah.
So I mean, I feel like I fall into the non-genius perfectionist camp because I'm definitely not anywhere close to approaching genius level of artistry or really anything, but I get paralyzed by my own creativity sometimes. Like I just can't figure out what I want something to be, and I talk myself out of things, right?
Yeah.
So, Puzo, if he had knew how successful Godfather was going to be before he wrote it, he would never have written it. Never.
Right.
Yeah. But it is a catch-22. I mean, David Lynch, how long did it take him to make Eraserhead? 7 years?
Oh, right. Yeah. Totally. Well, I know that the more I do this, the more I will be able to spend more time and take more time, because just right now, I'm like doing props, and me and my wife are doing the wardrobe, and I'm doing all the scheduling, and it's like, so I don't have time. There's like quite a few times on set where I'm so exhausted. I'm not even looking at the viewer screen. I'm just laying on the ground saying, like, is everyone in position? I yell action. I hear their words. I yell cut. We're done. Let's move on. I'm serious. Because it'll be, the 9th hour or 10th hour of the day, and I've been running like crazy, and I'm just trusting that everyone's going to do their job because I'm just exhausted.
And that may be times when you get the best stuff too. I mean, because you're not over analyzing in the view screen.
Yes, one of my favorite scenes in Sister Tempest is the principal scene towards the end, where the principal brings the main character in and kind of confronts her about some things, and it's a very funny scene. Like we made it ridiculously funny, with like the shelves in the back were like loose and like all close to the teacher, and everything was falling. It was so dumb. And it was like, I think I was just so exhausted. We were like, had to get out of there, out of the school as fast as we could. And the guy who plays the principal, he's like, look, I want to do this funny. And I was like, it's supposed to be a serious scene. It's kind of a serious moment. And at that point, I just like, that's fine. You want to do it this way? Let's do it. And we were just all busting out laughing the entire time. It was like, well, this is perfect. And it ends up being a really cool juxtaposition towards the end where everything's getting more serious. And then there's this really strange, funny moment in the middle of it. So I love that kind of stuff, that contrasting like that. But anyway.
Well, it gives people a moment to breathe, right?
Yeah.
Because ultimately, you're trying to express something, but you're also trying to, you want people to have as much fun as you're having making it, right?
Well, yeah, there was this formula that seemed to really happen in they really perfected it, I guess, in the 80s. But it's like this idea of, we're going to make a movie for everyone in the family. So we're going to make an action movie that has a romantic, side character and a comic relief. So you have something for the kids, something for the wife, something for the husband. And it's really what they're doing is they're doing multi-genres. And the reason why multi-genres are great is because if you're watching something and you get bored with what you don't like what's happening, just wait a few minutes because it's going to change and it'll be something that you're interested in for a little while, and then it might change again. And I love that. I love it's all like a funhouse ride or like a roller coaster. And so you get all these different emotions instead of just one emotion, which a lot of the times you get with especially with indie films, everything's slow and dramatic or everything's horrific or whatever. And it's just, I just get bored. I just have super ADD. So
it becomes a punishing experience, right?
yeah.
Where I think what you're doing is it allows you to kind of go back and watch it again and glean something new, or latch onto something new, take something new from it when it's over, right? Because you might be in a different mood and be able to experience a different element of what's happening.
Yeah, I hope so. I know that that's not something for everyone. People are definitely going to hate it, but absolutely. But I mean, if there's I know that if I like it, then there's other people like me who like it as well, and so that's who I'm doing it for, the people that like what I'm liking,
Yeah, I think that's one of the great things about being in, like, making what is probably no longer really called independent, but like genre filmmaking, right? So you, like, for example, we have one of the Horror Hound conventions that come up here, and there are some things in there that is like I absolutely have no interest in, but at the same time people clamor for it.
Yeah.
Whereas other things, and of course you get the people who like the mainstream stuff, all of that stuff that's up there too. But that's, but there's something there that, like, sometimes the stranger something is, the more people really kind of glom onto it and want to really appreciate it and further that, so that the next person comes along, does something a little bit different, and it can kind of, it slowly picks up that speed to where they've kind of created this whole new weird genre just from being fans of it.
Mm-hmm.
Well, yeah, I mean, that's what genres are. It's like one person did something that was different, and then a bunch of other people said, that's cool, I want to do the same thing, and then you get a genre out of it, and so I'm just, at this point, I feel like there's so many genres that the only thing left for me to do is just take a bunch of them and mix them all together, and not do it in that way that people do it a lot. Like there's that Anna and the Apocalypse, whatever, that zombie musical.
Mm-hmm.
There's lots of people that'll be like, hey, it's a zombie movie, but it's a romance, or hey, it's a this, but it's a that. And it's like a selling point that we're doing two different genres and look how cool. And that's not what I want to do. Like, I want to do as many different genres as possible. I just want to, like, jump around and just have fun with the medium of film,
Well, and also you bring up that mix. It's like they're oftentimes trying to mix things like, like really two really popular things, zombies and Grease. It's like, okay, well, but and then here you come along and you have a Swedish movie that most people probably haven't seen in the United States, and Rocky Horror, which is also a very specific slice. Right. It's so that's a whole different type of mixing that, like, on the widespread level, it gets boring just because it's like, well, you put all the popular shit into one bag and then you just pulled out two popular things.
Yeah, exactly. A lot of this comes from when I was a musician in high school and college, and there's this one composer named John Zorn.
Yeah.
And I don't know if you ever listen to him, but he
most definitely.
Yeah, and his biggest claim to fame is really Naked City, his band. That's what they did. They hopped around from one genre to another very quickly. There's like a famous song, well, famous for them, called Speed Freaks, and it's like in 1 minute they do like 30 or 40 different genres of music. Like every 2 seconds they're changing genre. And it's wild. And so that was, I listened and did music like that for like all my formative years. And so I just approached movies because I don't know what storytelling is. Like, I don't understand that. I don't want to try to figure it out. I don't want to read books about how to tell a story. So I'm thinking of stories in music form So I'm thinking of it as like a John Zorn song. Like I'm going to skip around and I'll have a bridge chorus and I'll have the beginning will be the same as the end, because that's kind of cool. And that's the way I'm focusing on storytelling. So.
Yeah. I mean, it works. I mean, you're onto something. I mean, I hope that people listen to your podcast tour you're doing here and they get to the Kickstarter and we raise that $100,000 because I want to see that $100,000 movie. I want to see the $20,000 one too. but I definitely want to see a big Joe Badon. Badon, damn it.
You did it.
I did it.
Okay.
This is also a running joke, Joe. I might mispronounce everyone's names.
Oh, no.
Everyone
mispronounces my name. It's still
Well,
now that Joe Biden's president, I'm like, pretty fun.
You're screwed, man.
You might get special treatment places.
Right? Yeah. I can't tell you how many people are like, I didn't know Joe Biden was making films. I'm like, I never heard of that joke before. Go fuck yourself. You know?
Well, as a person who spells his first name totally normally, I mean, I don't know what any of this talk is. You know.
Yeah.
We've gotten the Toys R Us.
You're right.
A few times. But.
Well, is there anything else we and our listeners should know about the project, about the Kickstarter? Anything you want to inform us on? Yeah.
So, like I said, we had just shot the prologue to this short film called Blood of the Dinosaurs, and so if you go and back the Wheel of Heaven, which June 22nd is when it launches, you'll get both films. So you're going to get the Blood of the Dinosaurs and the Wheel of Heaven. And, like Sister Tempest is coming out through Dark Side Releasing, in a month or two. I'm not exact. They haven't set a date, but it's very soon. So that'll be fun. Don't watch the God Inside My Ear. It's old and I don't like it anymore. So
we've seen it.
Well, that's too bad. I've got the Blu-ray right over
here. Jeff is a big backer of your stuff. You backed both films, I think, right?
No, I backed Sister Tempest and got the 2-for-1 deal. But yeah, and I've backed 3 of your comics.
Nice.
Yeah, Memoirs, Terror Kaiju, and 10,000 Eyes. So yeah, those are all in the other room.
Oh yeah, that's awesome.
Yeah,
that's great. Well, thank you.
Thank you.
And will you be, I think you have a trailer coming soon for Blood of the Dinosaurs, right?
Yes, we're going to launch the trailer the same day as the Kickstarter, so we don't lose any steam, because I think the trailer, people are going to be like, what the fuck is this? And share it around. The trailer is fucking batshit. So I'll try to send you all the rough cut if I get it, so y'all can check that out. But yeah, I'd like what I did with the video of the Kickstarter. Once people actually go there, they'll see how stupid the Kickstarter video is. I did that on purpose, so that I feel like that might be more shareable than just like, hey guys, why don't y'all back my Kickstarter? Like that's what I did with Sister Tempest. I felt, and I rewatched it the other day before we did this new Kickstarter video, and I was like, I feel like such a dweeb. I just feel like I'm just sitting there like this is not interesting. So the new Kickstarter video, it's something.
I laughed pretty hard, Joe. It's pretty funny. I was like, damn, that might be the most effective Kickstarter video I've ever seen, but it might also be the least effective.
Right. Yeah, exactly. I'm trying to lean into absurdity more, and that's from my love of Mighty Boosh and Adult Swim and Look Around You and all that sort of weird shit. And so I'm just like, at this point, I've told some serious, kind of semi-serious stories. So I'm like, fuck it, I'm just going to be absurd. And so Blood of the Dinosaurs is just high absurdity. Wheel of Heaven, we actually tone it down a notch. And it's something in between Sister Tempest and Adult Swim. There's like Tim and Eric's bedtime stories kind of thing,
Gotcha.
Anyway.
Well, awesome. That's fantastic. I want to read this sentence and maybe as a closing here, because I think this is what's kind of sold
I think I know
the Wheel of Heaven for me.
I'm waiting for it.
This new film looks to even further explore the aspects of experimental narrative and art house storytelling. And as you can see, we want to further explore the absurdity of repetitive adjectives and the meaninglessness of this sentence. That just tickles me.
Yeah. Well, I wrote that. And I wrote that line, and I told my wife the line, and she was like, "Oh, you got to lean into this," and that's what inspired me to do the dumb Kickstarter video. But
I love it.
Perfect piece of advice there.
Yes.
Anyway, but yeah, guys, this was a lot of fun.
This was fantastic.
Yes, it was great.
We'll have to bring you back. Maybe we'll do some updates as the campaign rolls along.
Yeah, once we get funded and stuff, I could once we get Blood of the Dinosaurs actually final cut, I could send it to you guys if y'all want to watch it. We could maybe discuss it. That'd be fun.
That'd be really fun.
Yeah,
absolutely.
that'd be great.
Sweet.
Yeah, and maybe even have you on for an episode of the regular show too.
I would love that. If we want to all review a movie together or something.
Yeah. Oh, that'd be a blast. That'd be a blast. Yep.
Yeah.
I have a feeling that you and Jason will pick something that Chuck and I would be looking at each other like, I don't know, okay, let's try it.
I don't think so. I was telling Jeff yesterday, it's like I feel like Joe is sort of this perfect mesh of Jeff and our sensibilities where film is concerned.
Yeah.
Like I feel like if you put both of our brains together, it would be something close to you.
I'm your son, guys.
Yeah. Oh my gosh. I feel like I see one of those like goofy morph, babies now in my head.
Together and you get Joe.
Yeah, that's exactly what the screen is giving me right now too.
It's amazing.
Oh, I love it. Well, Joe, this has been absolutely so much fun. Thanks for coming on. We're excited to promote the project. And really just best of luck on the Kickstarter campaign and everything else you've got going on.
Yep. Kickstarter campaign kicks off on, what is it? You said the 22nd, so that's Tuesday, the 22nd, I believe?
Yeah.
So, go over there.
Yeah, so a little bit of Kickstarter advice. Mm-hmm. If y'all ever launch a Kickstarter, launch it on Mondays or Tuesdays, because that's when most people are on the internet. And they are not on the internet on the weekends. They are on the internet at work on their phones. So there you go.
There it is. Direct advice from to launch you make your own damn Kickstarter, right?
Very cool.
Beautiful. Awesome. Well, thanks again. We look forward to seeing the progress and having you back on at some point. It's been an absolute pleasure. This has been Joe Badon, everyone. And go out there and support the project. We all want to see this crazy stuff that's gonna get in our eyeballs.
Thank you, guys.
Thanks, Joe.
All right, see ya.
See ya.